In the summer of 1972, a small town on the Mississippi River shut its kids indoors, called out armed posses, and made the national news because people there were convinced a monster was living on the hill above their houses. The town is Louisiana, Missouri, a quiet river town in Pike County, north of St. Louis. Brick storefronts, church steeples, the kind of place where nothing happens. And for a few weeks that July, it became the most famous monster town in America. CBS came, NBC came. There was a $1,000 reward on the radio. Grown men walked the woods at night with rifles. They were hunting something the newspapers had nicknamed Momo, short for Missouri Monster. And whatever you believe about what was actually up on that hill, the real story of what happened to this town that summer is honestly stranger than the monster. Let's go back to the day it started, July 11th, 1972. At the edge of Louisiana, there's a wooded rise called Marzolf Hill. At the bottom of it lived the Harrison family. That afternoon, one of the Harrison kids, 8-year-old Terry, was playing in the yard when he looked toward the trees and started screaming. His older sister Doris, 15, ran to the window, and by her account, she saw it too. Standing near a tree at the edge of the woods, a tall, dark figure covered in matted black hair from head to foot, 6, maybe 7 feet tall, standing upright like a man. And there were 2 details the family swore to that turned this from a scare into a legend. The first was the smell, a horrible stench like mold and rotting garbage, strong enough that they said it hung in the air. And the second, the detail that made the whole country lean in. They said the thing had something under its arm, a dead dog. The Harrison kids ran inside, locked the door, and waited, terrified, for their parents to come home. Now, on its own, that's one scared family in one bad afternoon. Here's how it became a phenomenon. Because once the Harrisons told their story, other reports started coming. People remembered strange, foul smells, dogs that wouldn't stop barking at the hill. A neighbor said her family had heard growling. And people recalled that even the summer before, in 1971, a couple of picnickers nearby had reported a hairy, smelly creature. Suddenly, it wasn't one sighting, it was a pattern. And the pattern had a hill at the center of it, Marzolf Hill, right above the town. The local authorities had to do something. So on July 19th, just over a week after the Harrison sighting, a search party went up the hill to find whatever was scaring everyone. Roughly 20 men, sheriff's deputies, and volunteers. And this is the moment the town's police chief, a man named Shelby Ward, said the thing that tells you how out of hand it had already gotten. He was less worried about the monster than about the people hunting it. Because by now, half the county was armed and jumpy, out in the dark woods above town. His real fear was that some nervous resident was going to fire at a shadow and hit a neighbor. That was the true danger on Marzolf Hill that summer. Not the creature, the panic. And then the outside world showed up and poured gasoline on it. The press could not resist this story. A monster in a town literally named Louisiana, in the middle of Missouri, in the middle of a slow summer. Reporters gave the creature its perfect, sticky nickname, Momo, and the wire services carried it coast to coast. The national TV network sent crews. A radio station put up a $1,000 reward for the monster, dead or alive. Nobody ever collected it. There were UFO investigators, too. 2 men from an outfit in Oklahoma City called the International UFO Bureau drove up, camped out in the Harrisons' backyard, took witness statements, and made plaster casts of 2 big footprints they found on the hill. One of them floated the theory that Momo wasn't an animal at all, that it was some kind of hairy creature dropped off by a flying saucer. So now you've got the full circus, a terrified town, Armed posses, network news trucks, cash rewards, UFO men making plaster casts in a family's backyard, schools letting kids out early so they could get home before dark, parents keeping children inside for weeks, an entire community organizing its daily life around a monster on a hill. And then, almost as fast as it started, it ended. As the summer of 1972 wore on, the sightings dried up, the smell stopped, the growling stopped, the reporters packed up and drove home to cover something else. And by fall, Louisiana, Missouri was just a river town again. So what was actually up on Marzolf Hill? The honest answer, the one the local officials landed on at the time, is a lot less thrilling than a UFO ape. They figured it was some combination of very ordinary things. A black bear wandered down out of the woods, standing on its hind legs the way bears do. Maybe more than one animal over those weeks. Possibly some local teenagers playing a prank on a town that was primed to believe. And on top of all of it, a heat wave of pure suggestion, where once the first story was out, every strange smell and every barking dog and every shadow at the tree line got folded into the same monster. There was never a body, never a clear photograph. The plaster footprints didn't lead anywhere science could follow. What was left when the noise died down was a town that had genuinely scared itself, with a lot of help from the cameras that came to watch. But here's the part I like. Louisiana, Missouri didn't spend the next 50 years being embarrassed about it. It leaned in. Momo became the town's own strange folk hero, the monster from up on the hill that put this little river town on the map for one unforgettable summer. You'll find Momo in local stories, in art, in the way people there tell it to newcomers with a grin. A whole documentary got made about it decades later. The scared summer of 1972 turned into something a community actually enjoys owning. And that, in the end, is what Momo really is. Not proof of a monster, proof of something much more real. How fast an ordinary place can talk itself into a legend when a scared kid screams at the tree line and the whole world decides to point a camera at the hill. The monster never came back, but the story never left.